All right, so you have some land you're looking to sell out in Texas. You've come to the right video. In this video, I'm gonna show you step by step how to sell your land by owner in Texas. Hey guys, it's Brent Bowers. I've done over 310 land deals. I have 114 notes paying me every single month for the land that I sell by owner. So first, in this video, I'm gonna show you how to get that property ready to sell. And then by the end of this video, you're gonna get your Texas land sold fast. All right, so here we go. We gotta get the land ready for sale. So first off, we want to get rid of all the junky cars or any of the trash, and then we want to mow the property. You know, if we've got the ability to mow the property or trim the trees, we're really getting the land photo ready. We want to just get it magnificent. That way when people look at this or they see the photos or the video or the drone photos, you want them to go, this is the property for me. All right, we're talking about how to get your land sold by owner. So I assume, like, if you're looking at this video, you don't want to use a real estate agent. So you got to be on top of your game. So I'm going to give you some of my best ninja tips so that you can get your land sold for sale by owner. First, I want you to think high quality photos, high quality images and video. You know, your iPhone or your Polaroid camera is not gonna cut it on this. I want you to hire a professional photographer. There's places like PixVid. There's also, you know, there's Facebook groups where there's photography groups. And I want you to call around also to realtors. You know, if you find that a realtor is listing most of the land in that area, or they list most of the houses in that area, you can find these guys on realtor.com or Zillow. Call that realtor or message that realtor and ask if they'd be willing to refer their photographer to you, because ultimately this is going to be the person that's used probably the best in the area. If the realtor that's selling most of the houses or has most of the listings or has most of the land listings is using this photographer company or this videographer or, you know, whatever you want to call it, if they're using that, you probably want to use them as well. So I want you to recommend high quality photos, video, and drone shots. How can you be better than every other piece of land out there? Because you want your land to stick out with high quality photos, videos, and drone shots. Yes, all three: photo, video, drones. All right, so you may have been looking on Zillow or realtor.com and you've noticed there's some land that just sits for sale for like 385 days, 279 days on Zillow. I don't want your land to be like this. I want your land getting sold fast. I want it gone, because ultimately that's probably the goal while you're watching this video. So I want you to think of terms versus cash. Should you offer someone terms, the ability to pay you seller financing, to pay you payments, or should you just sell it for a quick cash price? Because most of the time when this land is sitting for sale for over 200 days on the market, that's just too long. The land stales out and people start to think, is there an issue with this? Most of the time, 9 out of 10 times that is, people are just asking too much for the land. So we need to make it affordable for most. So if you think about it, you know, they say F-150, Ford F-150, best-selling truck in America. You know, it might not be the best truck in America, no telling. Like, you can argue that later. But what does Ford do? Ford Motor Credit, they allow people, Americans, to go in and make a monthly payment. So if they can afford a $500 or a $600 or a $700 a month payment, they now get this Ford truck that costs, like, you know, tons and tons of money. So what is Ford doing? They're making it affordable for Americans, and most Americans think, how much is it going to cost me each month? So if you can offer that same ability, the seller financing with your land, that's what we call it terms. If you offer, you know, a down payment and a monthly payment, this is going to get your land sold way faster than the land that's, say, down the street, maybe a little better and a little bigger maybe. Maybe it's got a fence or other improvements, but they want full cash price. You're going to get your land sold faster than the one down the street when you offer terms, which is seller financing. So I get a lot of people that ask me, hey Brent, how do I offer this seller financing? I'm gonna actually break those down for you. But before I go into this next tip, I want you to go ahead and hit that subscribe button. All right, how to offer terms. That way you're protected, that way the buyer's protected. A lot of times the title company will actually set this up for me. So usually I want at least a down payment of $4,000 to $5,000 or more if I'm gonna offer terms, or I'm gonna do it through a title company. There's other ways to do it outside of a title company, but for this video, I wanna talk about utilizing a title company to sell your property with terms. Why would I use a title company for this? Because they're gonna write up all the documents. They're gonna have their attorney write it up. They're gonna give me a deed of trust as well as a promissory note protecting me, giving me the land as a security instrument. So if, for instance, my buyer stops paying that mortgage that I'm allowing them to have, I'm now acting as the bank. So basically the buyer's gonna put $5,000 down and I'm gonna transfer the deed to the buyer, and now they've got an obligation, which I said in the beginning, I have 114 notes. All this is a note. It's a promise to pay me for a certain amount of time. So someone has to go to work to pay Brent for the land for a certain amount of time. So for instance, let's just use a quick example. $200,000 loan. I'm gonna allow my buyer of this land a $200,000 loan. I'm gonna hold the financing for 30 years at 6% interest. They're gonna give me $1,200 per month for the next 360 months. And you might be thinking, oh my God, there's no way I can do it for 30 years. But I want you to think about the way the banks think about things. They give a 30-year mortgage at 6% interest for 360 months, 30 years, and it's $1,200 a month. That's affordable for that person to make those payments. But here's the thing, here's the catch. It's not really 6%. If they pay back every single payment on time for the next 30 years, they're gonna pay back over $400,000 for that $200,000 loan. Is that really 6%? Not really. It's just 6% a month of that total finance amount of $200,000. Start thinking about the bank. And if you ever need money, you can always sell these notes to somebody else. Basically what I mean by that is you can sell your mortgage to someone. They can give you, 80 or 90% of that note. So for instance, if you have a $100,000 note and they're giving you 80% of it, you can literally get $80,000 quick cash, and then they take over the note. That's what banks do. They write these mortgages all day long and then they sell them off. So start thinking like the banks. So the title company is going to set that all up for you. They're going to give you an amortization schedule. They're going to break it all down for you and protect you. That way, if the buyer stops paying for this mortgage, you can go back and take the land back via foreclosure. All right, we've talked about cleaning the land up. We've talked about photos. We've talked about terms versus cash. Maybe you don't want to deal with that. Maybe you just want to just sell it for cash. Then I highly recommend you looking at the past 3 months of what land is sold for on Zillow and Redfin and LandWatch and price yours somewhere around that. And you got to remember apples to apples comparison. If you're looking at selling a 1-acre parcel and you're looking at what the 3-acre parcels are selling for, that is not an apple to apple comparison. You want to know what the 1-acre parcels are selling for in that area within a couple miles, not too far out. Let's talk about where we advertise this land. That way it's getting maximum eyeballs. I like to be omnipresent when I'm selling my land, but if you're only focusing on selling one parcel of land, I'm gonna keep it super simple for you. One of the favorite places for me to advertise land is on Zillow.com. But there's one catch. Your land must have an address for you to be able to do that without listing it through a real estate agent or one of those discount listing services. One I use in Florida is called List with Freedom. If your land does not have an address, like a 123 Main Street, Colorado Springs, Colorado, if it does not have an address at all, it's just like 0 land way, then you're not gonna get it on Zillow unless you list it through a real estate broker or like one of the List with Freedom sites, or like basically those are called discount broker sites. And you can get it on the MLS, Zillow, and Redfin, even if it doesn't have an address. So check that out. But let's just say this parcel of land has an address. I want you to put it on Zillow. And here's a catch with Zillow. Once you put it in all the information, it's got to be accurate and correct. You will receive a phone call anywhere from 30 seconds to 3 hours later. You've got to answer that phone call and verify that for Zillow so your listing can go on Zillow. Because most of the eyeballs, most of the time when people are looking to buy a piece of land or a house, they're going on Zillow. Next, I want to talk about a free site, which Zillow's free as well. Craigslist is the next free site that I offer. I probably sold my first 20 parcels of land and I still sell land today, 6 years later, using Craigslist. Craigslist is phenomenal, but you must follow the Craigslist rules. If you're listing a parcel of land in Orlando, Florida, you must be in Orlando Craigslist. You can't be putting your Orlando, Florida property in the Denver Craigslist because they're gonna basically ghost it and it's gonna knock you out. You also want to have a local area code phone number. That's another way to keep your listing up. A lot of complaints I get from people is, hey, they took my ad down as soon as I put it up on Craigslist. And I guarantee you it's because you didn't follow their guidelines. So you wanna Google Craigslist guidelines for listing a parcel of land. They've got stuff all over Google for that. All right, let's talk about signs. You want to sign up on the land. You want signs around the land. I say if you really want to blast this land out quick, put out 33 signs saying 3 acres, must sell, price, phone number, or 3 acres, will finance, phone number. You're gonna get a lot of calls. Sometimes the neighbors will even buy the land from you. I've got a funny story for you. In the beginning, when I couldn't afford signs, we had just moved across the country because I was an Army officer. So we had just moved and I had all these massively large boxes in my garage. So I would cut these boxes out and I was like dull my knife cutting these boxes, but I would write on there, must sell, will finance, my phone number, and these boxes sold signs. I would post them to trees. I would post them on like a surveyor stake. Now here's the problem. You know, it didn't really rain a lot in Colorado Springs, but when it did rain, it would destroy my signs. But I must have sold at least 10 parcels of land with those signs in my garage. All right, and the last place I'm gonna talk about advertising, it is a paid site, but I recommend landcentury.com. For $15, you can get your land on a site where people are going to look for land to buy in your area. For $15, highly recommend it. All right, now that you're an expert at selling land in Texas, I want you to check out my next video. Is buying land in Texas a good investment?